everyone that has turned out for this benefit. We are the Caldera Songwriting Tribe of Eugene, and the benefit today, the benefit concert, will go to help Egan warming centers, which are operated by St. Vincent de Paul Society of Lane County. The first singer I'd like to introduce today is a friend, and after 5,000 gigs, 1,000,000 miles, and 12 albums, John Shipe is starting, finally, to get the hang of it. His motto is, "Context is everything, orthodox is the enemy." But he isn't all that unorthodox. He's just good. He writes good songs about complicated people, sung politely. And his old band opened for Bob Dylan. See, I didn't know that. That's impressive. And there's a funny story to that he may or may not tell.
It's Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. Gotta think of something romantic to say. Gotta pick up some flowers and write it all down in a card. Shouldn't be very hard. But how can I make these feelings bigger than they already are? I promise you the moon and the stars. Valentine's Day, gotta dress up nice, look a certain way, gotta make a reservation to someplace fancy and posh. Oh my gosh. How can I make these feelings finer than they already are? I hope they let us sit at the bar if I call too late. It happens. It's Valentine's Day. Gotta write a pretty love song to sing and play. Gotta get a box of chocolate that'll probably cost an arm and a leg. The kids are gonna eat anyway. But how can I make these feelings sweeter than they already are? Two fireflies in a jar. That's some poetry right there. Poetry. This is pretty much all I do. I just putt around the house, writing songs about you. Walking the dog and doing the dishes, folding laundry and making wishes for Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. Got errands to run and bills to pay. But somewhere in the middle of all of that pushing and shoving, we're gonna squeeze in some loving.
Great. I'd like to introduce now Kathy Martini. And Kathy is an English-born folk singer who spent several years traveling the world. She settled in Oregon, where she raised a family and began writing songs that reflect her love of the natural world. Her songs are a blend of traditional and Americana that speak from the heart and have delighted audiences on both sides of the pond.
This is actually not about my love of nature. This is about my history with relationships. So let's go back a few years. Well, I met him on an island when I was 21. He was tall and tanned, and he had blue eyes that sparkled in the Grecian sun. Well, how could I resist when he looked at me and he said, "Hey, beautiful," 'cause I was 21 when I met that one in the sun that afternoon. Well, we whiled away the afternoon at a table in in the square, and he said he knew a place to stay that wasn't far from there. As the sun went down over cobbled streets, well, I knew what I would do. I would stay there on that island, for those eyes were sparkling blue. There was no warning, there was no insight from above. That's just what happens when you're 21 in love. Tavernas on the hillsides, tables in the shade, and the widows with their long black shawls, the old men counting beads. Swimming in the ocean, we were laughing, holding hands. When you're 21 and you fall in love in a sun-drenched foreign land. No warning, no insights from above. That's just what happens when you're 21 in love. But summer comes to an end, and the swallows head south, and he left for his home down under, where he'd put his life on hold. And me, I'd gambled everything, I left everything I knew, when I stayed there on that island, for those eyes were sparkling blue. Well, who's to say what's wrong or right? We're just trains passing in the night, a bird of prey or a turtle dove. You're 21 in love. And though we never met again, well, I know that love was true when I stayed there on that island, for those eyes were sparkling blue. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We definitely have a Valentine's Day theme going, which reminds me I have to pick up a gift. I'm going to be shamelessly, I guess, be in a shameless act of nepotism. I'm going to read my 5-year-old granddaughter's first haiku. I like to sing songs. When I walk by the river, it makes me happy. And oops, there goes my granddaughter's poem. And I would ask now if Barbara Terrell could come out. While she's coming out, I'm going to read a joke, one of many. My wife told me to stop impersonating a flamingo. I had to put my foot down. It's not bad. All right. So Barbara is a singer, songwriter, guitarist who performs solo and as a band member for over 35 years throughout the Northwest. In the Newport area, she played for 10 years with Rick Bartow and the Backseat Drivers and with the Dalby Gang. She performs now as Barbara Lee and Frankie T with Frankie Trujillo Dalby on bass. Southbound Door, her recent CD, is an amazing collection of original songs written over the past 50 years from New York to Oregon. Her music is genuine, award-winning, lovingly crafted, and unforgettable.
I'm used to all this stuff, so we'll see. This is a true story. every day at dawn. Takes a little walk before she puts the kettle on. She goes out to the barn in the brambles and the bees. Calls out to the heavens, Lord, won't you help us, please? There's a storm that's about to break. There's a storm, and it's more than I can take. Can't you feel the rain? Hear the thunder rolling in. Oh, I don't want to wait for the drowning to begin. Mr. Noah's wife says no matter what your sin, you're welcome in this barn of faith. There's righteousness within. No matter who you love, no matter how you pray, when that flood has come, this barn will carry you away. There's a storm that's about to break. There's a storm. It's more than I can take. Can't you feel the rain? Hear the thunder rolling in. Oh, I'm not gonna wait for the drowning to begin. Mr. Noah's wife dressed her children all in red, cast a backward glance at him snoring on the bed. And as she shut the door, her youngest daughter said, what about the animals that never learned to swim? There's a storm that's about to break. There's a storm, and it's more than I can take. Can't you feel the rain? Hear the thunder rolling in. Oh, I don't want to wait for the drowning to begin. Noah's wife wakes up every day at dawn, takes a little walk before she puts the kettle on. She goes out to the barn in the brambles and the bees, calls out to the heavens, Lord, won't you help us, please? There's a storm that's about to break. There's a storm, and it's more than I can take. Can't you feel the rain? Hear the thunder rolling in. Oh, come inside this barn of faith, there's righteousness within. Come inside this barn of faith, there's righteousness within. Come inside this barn of faith. There's righteousness within.
Thank you, Barbara. That was great. That's some serious picking. I hope we have a bucket of salt water for you to soak your fingers in after doing that one. Here is a haiku that was submitted by one of our Caldera singer-songwriters for Valentine's Day, I think. Couple falls in love. Another breaks up in tears. Folk songs in this church. I like that one. I'd now like to ask Annie Heron to come in. While she's coming in, I'll give you one more joke. I want to die peacefully in my sleep, like my grandfather, not screaming and yelling like the passengers in his car. So,
71415. I have a question for you. Here it is. Where do you go for propane, specialty fuels, and solvents in our area? Time's up. There's only one answer, and that is Curtis Serve and Save, also known as the Pumpkin Center on Highway 99 North, the Eugene landmark.
There's lots of ways to play at the Patriot game, where one man's honor is another man's shame. Many hanging on in these times of need, where one woman's hunger fills another woman's greed. Everything you do sends ripples far and wide. Every coin you flip has another side. One person's ending what another's just beginning. One man's gaining, another man's winning. One feels safe, one's whole world is shaking. What one man has, another one's taking. Everything you do sends ripples far and wide. Every coin you flip has another side. You can see families losing their homes. People are losing their health. The ones at the top keep gaining it all. They're busy accumulating wealth. Can you tell me how we got here? How did everything get bent when one person's sidewalk holds another one's tent? It's more than just a question of attitude. When one person's garbage is another one's food, something is wrong, something's way out of whack. When one man's foot is on another one's back. Can you tell me how we got here? How did everything get bent where one person's sidewalk holds another one's tent? Everything you do sends ripples far and wide. Every coin you flip has another side.
That was great. Thank you. Beautiful. So, one person isn't here this year for this year's benefit that I think we all meet and who miss and is very special to us, and that's Beth Wood, who is a good friend, a great singer, and one of the people who helped start this benefit. And one of the haikus that one of our singer-songwriters submitted says this: "In this, my haiku, a shout out to a hero, big-hearted Beth Wood." And then I got a haiku this morning from Beth Wood, and it says, "It brings so much joy, the Caldera Songwriters singing from their hearts." I'd like to invite Nick Crump up right now. Nick is, he's the Egan Warming Center Operations Coordinator. He became involved with the Egan Warming Center as a volunteer in 2013 when the temperatures went below 0 degrees for several nights in a row. He's grateful for all the support that Egan gets from a community. I worked for St. Vincent de Paul and with Egan for 3 years after I retired as a journalist. Best 3 professional years of my life. And I love St. Vincent de Paul, and I love what Egan does. So thanks. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you all for coming out. I'm not going to sing to you, fortunately. I'm just going to talk a little bit about something, just one little bit of Egan that I think you guys are helping with, and that you guys can continue to help with, and that others can help with as well. I'm going to leave my mask on, if that's okay. Yeah, like Paul said, we open when the temperatures are really cold, and we actually had a cold streak back in December where it was really snowy, and we had a lot of our guests come in with soaking wet feet, soaking wet pants, soaking wet jackets or no jackets. We had guests come in with one shoe on, guests with socks that were falling apart, guests with horrible injuries on their feet, and we do our best. We try our best to be able to accommodate people when they come in that situation, but sometimes we can't. Sometimes we come in, somebody comes in and they need a certain size of shoe and we don't have it, and sometimes we can make a phone call, but at 1 in the morning, not everybody answers their phone, and so one of the things that we always encourage people to do is to bring donations, bring appropriate winter gear. And that's not just clothing, also things like sleeping bags and tents, but rain pants, shoes of all sizes in good condition, socks, winter jackets, rain coats, and also just changes of pants are huge. So you can do that by bringing anything to an Egan Warming Center when it's open. Best time to do that is right at the beginning of the evening. You can also bring things to a St. Vincent de Paul donation center. There's one up on Chad Drive, and there's one over on Seneca, out by Fred Meyer's over there. And just mark the bag for Egan Warming Center. And we don't open all that much anymore, unfortunately. Well, I guess, no, unfortunately, because the weather seems to be changing. It seems to be getting warmer. And so if you have things to give to people outside of Egan times, please help people out. Just imagine what it's like to be out there in the rain and not have an appropriate pair of shoes and not be able to go inside and get warm or anything like that. So if any old shoes you have, I think I have extra pairs of shoes that I should be giving away myself. We all have an extra couple of pairs of shoes that we can give to somebody. You don't have to give it to Egan, you can give it to anybody. But Egan is a great place to do that. And when people come in, next time I want to be able to say, oh yeah, we have size 13 right here. Here you go. And if they're waterproof shoes, even better. So thank you all for your support, and thanks for doing this every year. I mean, you guys have done this how many years now? 10? Yeah, and usually you guys end up doing this on a night when we're open. And so, like, most of our volunteers are here instead, so I'm really glad that you're doing it during the daytime at a time when you're not sucking away all our great volunteers, because I recognize a lot of you from being at Egan. So, thanks.
One of the magical things about Egan Warming Center, which when it was started became a national model for other communities, is that it has just this incredible basic community support. There are literally more than 1,000 people in Eugene and Springfield who've been trained to work at Egan, who have worked with Egan. And the beauty of it is they've come to know our homeless community, people in it, not as tents, not as irritations or aggravations, but as people. And that's a wonderful thing for this community. It gives us built-in grassroots support for programs that help the homeless. So I'd now like to invite up Bill McDonald and Lindsay Marin.
Still to come, George Strait will back grab his first #1 song. Hear from Johnny Lee and more on this duets weekend. Fever, cold, or flu? Fever's the leading sign, so be vigilant. Use the Eugene temporal scanner thermometer. Learn more at Eugene.com.
They were in a good place. Randall's first free throw is good. Julius Randall shooting 75% from the line. His numbers are down across the board from last year. John Sharp will come out of the game. His first rest. Ben McLemore for the first time tonight. Practice time is so precious.
Professed introvert. So please, no eye contact with her. And also know that she's the author of a number of introvert jokes that were submitted as jokes. I'll get to a couple shortly. So.
Birthday party, our friend Joe. I really didn't want to go, and now I'm feeling lonely in a crowd. They drink too much and they talk too loud, and across the room you catch my eye. You're sunk into the couch and you're so high, and I'm the one who breaks our gaze, 'cause you and I don't talk these days, but we could have been so good together. Just think what we might could have found. If only we dared to dig a little bit deeper, we were carrots and peas in the ground, in the Remember at that old growth camp, we slipped away into the damp, and the moss was thick, our feet were bare, with water droplets in our hair. And you talked about when you were 10, your dad replaced by other men, and I thought about your mother's shoes and how it feels to love and lose, and we could have been so good together. Just think what we might could have found. If only we dared to dig a little bit deeper, we were carrots and peas in the ground, in the ground. I know that you would talk to me, and I could keep you company. When we're together, our friends come round. They hear me laugh and they like the sound. But you had to ride your chemical ride, and I had to polish my goddamn pride and put it high up on a shelf and leave the party by myself. And we could have been so good together. Just think what we might could have found. If only we dared to dig a little bit deeper, we were carrots and peas in the ground, in the ground.
That calls for an introvert joke. All right. What do you call a group of introverts? A no thanks. Introvert knock knock joke? Knock knock? Knock knock? Knock knock? Right. So now I'm going to ask in Ken Amdahl. Ken is an obscure author of funny books on dull subjects. You're trying to build up sales, aren't you? Yeah. Like There Are No Electronics for Earthlings, Calculus for Cats, and Revenge of the Pond Scum. He is an even more obscure songwriter, I may vie with you for the obscurity, who moved to Eugene from Colorado just in time for the pandemic. Ken?
Okay. This is a good cause. When I moved here 4 years ago or so, I was invited to play some soothing background music for the Egan Warming Centers from time to time. For quite a while, I knew more homeless people in Eugene than homed people. But back in Denver, I sang in a choir called the Last Note Singers. We sang for veterans' homes and veterans' hospitals and nursing homes and things like that. The guy who stood beside me died, but I'm pretty sure it's a coincidence. I don't think my music had anything to do with it. Anyway, that inspired me to write this song. On Tuesday nights in the choir room, the autumn of each year, we learned our parts and filled our hearts with music of good cheer. For friends who feel forgotten, some who lost their homes, for soldiers far with family near, feeling alone. When I never saw a church on Sunday morning, I guess that's fair. But Tuesday nights in the choir room, I did my worship there. And some of the notes we sang were right, some had good intent, but the final chord rang loud and true when the music was all spent. And then the tenors joked, the sopranos all spoke, the altos did beguile. Me and Jim in the bass back row were just watching Sally smile. Watching Sally smile, singing sweet and mild. Me and Jim in the bass back row were just watching Sally smile. Jim Donlin was a rambling lad. One day he had to go to the grand backstage where the music's made for the great celestial show. All the angels laid their harps down, picked up mandolins. Let's celebrate by the pearly gates. A bass finally got in. I know I'll see him smiling by stage 3, walking around Swallow Hill, spread in harmony. And watching Sally smile, singing sweet and mild. Me and Jim in the bass back row, we just watching Sally smile. Some folks are known by what they own, some by what they do. Some complete the friends they keep. Oh, and Jim kept quite a few, but ones to hold when the day grows old. You know by what they love. Good songs are pearls for pretty girls. We'll never have enough. So take a sip and toast Jim's trip to beauty where we find it. Don't shed a tear, your friend's not here. Well, but follow close behind him. And some of the notes we sang were right, some had good intent, but the final chord rang loud and true. When the music was all spent, and then the tenors joked, the sopranos all spoke, the altos did beguile. Me and Jim in the bass back row were just watching Sally smile. Watching Sally smile, I singing sweet and mild. Me and Jim in the bass back row, we're just watching Sally smile.
Thank you. That was great. Now, I am ashamed and appalled to say that there were a few banjo jokes that were sent in for this event. So what is the difference between a banjo and a South American macaw? Does anybody know? One is loud, obnoxious, and noisy, and the other is a bird. What's the difference between a skunk run over on the road and a banjo player run over there on the road? You can see the skid marks in front of the skunk. Oh, that's cruel. That's cruel. I'm sorry. I apologize. No one should have written that joke. I'd like to bring on Carl Falsgraf. Carl has played music for guests at Egan Warming Centers. In fact, he coordinates the Egan music program. And he's done this since, he's played since they first opened over 10 years ago. And Carl says Egan is still his favorite gig. Not his only gig, his favorite gig. So, and Carl also is a heck of a friend. And if you ever want to jam, call Carl Falsgraf. He's a joy to play music with. Carl?
I was going to come out here and play my banjo, but at the last minute I changed my mind when I realized what was going on here. This is a song that I wrote a number of years about an Egan guest, actually. She was a woman, her real name was Lily. I call her Angel in this song, took a little poetic license. And at one point I'd always meant to talk to her and kind of get her story, and she disappeared before I was able to do that. Since I never got her real story, I made one up, and that's what this song is. It's called Angel on the Sidewalk. Angel on the sidewalk, you know her well. Might be your sister, but you can't tell, because it's hard to see the face. One who's doomed to fall through a floor you thought was solid, but it ain't at all. And the angel on the sidewalk keeps her future and her past in a shopping cart and backpack she dug from the trash. She talks to Jesus and Jehovah, voices from on high, giving small comfort when the snow begins to fly. From that patch of sidewalk, she asked me for $1 to help an angel down on her luck. Well, I reached into my pocket to do what I could, then said, tell me your story, angel, if you would. Angel laid it out, man, the good and the bad, from her happy schoolgirl days to her mean and drunken dad. Then mama died, it was him and her, and nothing could be done but to hunker down till she got old enough to run. Angel, spread your wings, you're gonna rise, rise, rise. Trade this dirty sidewalk for your true home in the sky. Aye, aye, aye. Aye, aye, aye. Aye, aye. At 15, she was on her own, hustling to get by. She was begging for her food. She was selling to get high. That's when the voices started whispering at first. Now they're kinda like a family. They're kinda like a curse. But when you're on your own, you take what comes your way. $1 from a stranger, or a voice that comes to say, angel, spread your wings, you're gonna rise, rise, rise. Trade this dirty sidewalk for your true home in the skies. Aye, aye, aye. Aye, aye, aye. Aye, aye. That was Angel's story. I can't tell you if it's true, but I'll bet you're mighty glad it's her and not you. But is she all that different from those of us who try to make it through this world on a hustle and a lie? Aye, 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 aye. Angel disappeared, no telling where she'd go, off to Vegas or to heaven, and nobody knows. Perhaps she was a vision sent to open up my eyes to the beauty of an angel who can rise, rise, rise. Aye, aye, aye. I have the pleasure of introducing our wonderful master of ceremonies, Paul Neville. Let's give him a round of applause here. And this is not an easy job because he had to wrangle bios from 12 wayward musicians. This is not an easy thing. So the other night I asked him, I said, this is great. You know, Paul, did you get, bios from everybody? He said, oh, yeah, I had to bug him and all this stuff. And I said, really, you got bios from everybody? He said, yeah. But that's a lie, because one person didn't send in a bio. Paul Neville did not send a bio. So according to Article 7, Section 3 of the Caldera Songwriters bylaws, I get to say anything I want about him. Born in a boxcar in central Indiana to impoverished but loving hobo parents, Paul ran away to the circus when he was 9 years old, made his way through the world. Unfortunately, while he was in the circus, he was giving the elephant steroids. The FBI came and found out about it and questioned him. Paul was afraid he was going to spend the rest of his life in the slammer, had to go into witness protection. That's when he came by the name Paul Neville. We don't really know the name. At any rate, Paul managed to overcome his difficult childhood, make his way out here to Oregon. and become a journalist with the Register Guard. This, by the way, is the first true thing I've said so far. He actually did work for the Register Guard. And like any self-respecting journalist, left that paper as it transitioned from respected local newspaper to a corporate rag, just in time to go work at St. Vincent de Paul's, which is when he became involved in the Egan Warming Centers. You will also find out in just a second, he's a tremendously talented songwriter and a very heartfelt song. While he finishes up tuning, let me give you a few more haikus here. I am 70. Can't sing what I forget, but can't forget to hum. Talk of gratitude. Talk of counting your blessings. Face it, life is hard. And on that note, we have a song from Paul about another kind of a hard life. Take it away, Paul.
By the way, do you know what you call a banjo player in a three-piece suit? What you say to them?
No, Paul, I don't.
Will the defendant please rise? All right, here's a song, sadly a true story from my youth, and it's called Trailer Park Girl. Whoa. I was 12 years old, living in a ranch house in St. Louis, right off Route 66. One day I found a path that led into the woods, and it went to a trailer park deep in the sticks. Now the trailers were shoddy, just falling to pieces. The yards were a mess of trash and filth. In the middle of it all was a big willow tree, and that's where I met that trailer park girl. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo, tall and skinny with a double wide grin. She made me laugh, she was my friend. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo. Now Iris had blonde hair and bright blue eyes. She was playing in the dirt, she was making mud pies. She wore old coveralls that hid to real bony knees, and her laughter was filled with sky, hills, and trees. Now Iris and her mama, they lived in an old trailer. There was a big hole right through their kitchen floor. Iris told me that whenever she lost her key, that hole worked as good as any old door. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo, tall and skinny with a double wide grin. She made me laugh, oh, she was my friend. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis. There was a beat up old Chev in their front yard. We played inside it. We took make-believe trips. One day we drove all the way to Nome, Alaska, 'cause that's where she said her daddy lived. But mostly I listened to Iris tell me stories about wizards and brave kings, braver queens, about cowboys and cowgirls who saved the day. We were two little kids dreaming sweet kid dreams. She's a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo, tall and skinny with a double wide grin. She made me laugh, she was my friend. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo. One day it came to a sorry sad end when my mother followed me down that path. She saw Iris and me playing in that old car. Dragged me home and said, son, you're never going back. But I went back the first chance I had. Ran down that path to find my friend. But the trailer was empty, Iris and her mama were gone. No one could tell me where she went. Now and then the memory of an old friend floats past you like an ash in the wind. You follow behind, hoping to find her again. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo, tall and skinny with a double white grin. She made me laugh, oh, she was my friend. She was a trailer park girl from St. Louis, Mo. So if you find an old lady who tells tall tales, makes pies, has skinny knees, and a double-wide grin, please tell her I hope she's oh so well. Tell her that she'll always, always be my trailer park friend. Thanks. This is Dave Taylor, who first attended Caldera Song Camp in 2013 and has been back at least 3 more times. His songs cover the range from humorous to excessively depressing. So you're in for a treat.
We're going for the humorous.
There we are. All right, all right. Prior to COVID, he was a frequent participant in open mics around Corvallis and Salem, something he's looking forward to getting back to. And Dave and I share a love of whitewater boating. So I've heard he writes some good whitewater songs as well.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. All right. There you go.
So last year I made the choice in the dark, dreary part of winter to sit in on one of Beth Wood's songwriting classes, which I really recommend, especially when you're stuck at home and there's nothing else to do. You hang out with Beth and write songs for a while. That's pretty good. So anyway, this came out of that. Well, I've got neighbors that don't agree about much of anything politically, and it's not much fun stuck in the middle of people who've given up being civil. I try to listen, lend an ear, looking for hope in the hate and fear. Ask them both just to give it a try. Let those bygones go by. But this is what they said. And the one on the left said, he's just a hardcore redneck, has a lifted pickup, naked lady, mud flaps, fully stocked gun rack, yard signs that leave me steaming, dirt bike engines always screaming. Poison spray in all his ditches. It's hard to take those sons of bitches. I caught his boy making eyes at my daughter. That'll never happen come hell or high water, and I don't see any point talking to them. But I told him, I know he's not woke. In fact, he's pretty dang sleepy. But maybe there's somewhere in the middle you could meet me. And after we've shared a beer or 3, we could say in all sincerity that all of this fussing, the cussing and screaming only leaves a bad, sad feeling. Let's sit down, give it a try. what do we got to lose? And the one on the right said, he's just an old growth hippie, long hair and all. Animal rights stickers on that Prius car. They only eat vegan, organic shit. I tried to buy once, I was almost sick. Those tall green plants don't smell so nice. Well, I know what they are, sweet Jesus Christ. I caught his daughter making eyes at my son. I can promise you now that's one and done. I don't see any point in talking to them. But I told him, well, I know you're not woke. In fact, you're pretty dang sleepy. But maybe there's somewhere in the middle you could meet me. And after we've shared a beer or three, we could say in all sincerity that all of this fussing, the cussing and screaming, it only leaves a bad, sad feeling. Let's sit down, give it a try. What do we got to lose? You could bring a bag of quick-set concrete. You could bring a little wood and some steel. We could build ourselves a big bridge between us, crossing that river of fear. Well, I've got neighbors that don't agree about much of anything politically, but it's been fun watching from the middle as both of them turned pretty much civil. The kids had the twins late last year, and that put away the hate and fear. I asked them both how they decided to let those bygones go by, and this is what they said. One of us is woke, one's still sleeping, but inch by inch there's a friendship creeping. God knows we've shared a beer or four. There's no doubt we'll be sharing some more, and all of that fussing, the cussing and screaming, it faded away without a season. We sat down, gave it a try. What did we have to lose? Oh, you could sit down, give it a try. What have you got to lose?
I echo what he said about Bethwood's song classes, which are through the Sisters Folk Festival. They're wonderful, and many of us have taken them. Haiku. Lockdown or open, music is the remedy for healing all hearts. And a joke. When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. You have to think about that. All right. And now I would like to invite up Eli Verodas. Is that correct? Good enough, close enough. Eli is a member of Tobias the Owl, a critically acclaimed, award-winning musical collective based in the Pacific Northwest. Tobias Owl has collaborated with Ben Harper, this is a big name for you, William Shatner, Laura Vyers, and many other Grammy-winning artists. The music of Tobias the Owl has been featured on Starbucks stores worldwide and has appeared on the soundtracks of films and television shows internationally. Some of Tobias the Owl's songs have been covered by Jonah Tolkien, Deertick, and many others. I will also say that he is the facilitator for the Alluvium and generously and very kindly and accommodatingly opened the doors for this event. So thank you.
Per Carl's instructions, I'm going to talk a little bit about Alluvium first before I launch into my song properly. So I'm going to first tell you a little bit about the philosophy of Alluvium, and then I'll talk about some of the things that we do here that are more concrete. So first of all, what we want to do here at Alluvium is try and facilitate people having spiritually nourishing experiences. And what we don't want to do is define what that means. So our philosophy is sort of based on the idea that there's a lot of indictments of organized religion, so we aspire to be disorganized religion, and I think at least the disorganized part of that we accomplish in spades. But we do a lot of very good things for the public through this space that I'm really proud of, and I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that our community has really done some tremendously wonderful and altruistic things. Just as a few examples, we've given out over 1,000 tents since the month of December. We give out roughly 1,000 major things per month, actually. During the heat wave, we gave out over 5,000 beverages. We've lately been working a lot with Operation Period out of the University of Oregon. They're a really fantastic organization, and what they do is they provide feminine hygiene products for the unhoused. Really great folks to work with. We also work with Bent Spoke Outreach, which provides resources for the unhoused. We work with The Way Home, which provides a pathway to get people into homes, into shelters, and into safe sleeping sites. We also work with Eugene Burrito Brigade and Andy and Timothy, who put on a really great free market every Sunday at Alluvium at 1 o'clock. So if you're interested in finding out more about Alluvium, you can come to our free market, which is outside in our parking lot every Sunday at 1 o'clock. We also have an open mic here at Alluvium every Sunday at 7 o'clock. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I feel like whether or not you sort of spiritually align with any religion, what you all are doing here to benefit Egan Warming Center is really very congruent with what our mission is here at Alluvium. We really believe in helping people, and it's very important to us that this space, this building, be used to channel a lot of philanthropic and altruistic things. To that extent, we're not taking any of the proceeds from this event. It's all going to Egan Warming Center, and we're really proud of that. I'd also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge some of you know my background. I'm a doctor at the Veterans Hospital and a professor at the University of Washington. But before I went through all that, I dropped out of high school, and I myself was houseless for 4 years and lived on the street. So if it weren't for the kindness of a lot of organizations, I probably would not be a doctor today, and I'm quite confident in that conclusion. So I feel like what we do here is really very important and very life-changing, especially with as many young houseless people that are here in the area of Eugene. So I would like you to give a big round of applause to yourselves for being a part of a very philanthropic and altruistic cause. And this is an original song. I play in a band called Tobias the Owl. So if you want to hear more of our music, you can look us up online, Tobias the Owl.
We could go to California, stretch our legs out in the ocean, lose our bodies in the currents that we ride. I would take what's in my pockets. I know you could use a change, and you might see a different side of me for a few days. All I want is a love that rolls like the waves that call me home. But all I have is an empty throne, a love that calls me home. I once had so many questions, the answers still seem so lucid. You spoke so softly and whispered when I asked. You left your letters and I got it, and
You left shadows in the brush so that I would raise a forest from your top. And all I want is a love that rolls like the waves that call me home. But all I have is an empty throne and a memory fading slow. Every day is the flickering light of a candle blowing out. All I want is to feel the warmth of a love that's in my mind. Your eye, and in my mind, and in your eye, in my mind.
Thank you. That was an amazing song and beautiful. I love the guitar playing. I love the voice. I love the whole idea of the song. I'd now like to introduce Marilyn Jordan. Marilyn is a singer-songwriter based out of Corvallis, and she writes songs about home, hiding out, and running like hell. She's releasing her new album any day now, but still not quite yet. And she is grateful to get to join this group of lovely musicians, that wouldn't include me, I would think, today as we work together to try to help. So, Marilyn, come on out.
Room all together. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do that. But I keep expecting Paul to hand me a cup of coffee because we were at song camp together this year and he had the coffee every morning.
Thanks, Marilyn. That was very beautiful. So one singer to go. And before I introduce him, I want to thank everyone who has made this event happen, particularly Steve Gibson, Julia O'Reilly, Carl Falsgraf, and Art Willie. We are inspired by the compassion and creativity of our fellow Caldera Songwriters and Egan Songwriters, some of whom joined us tonight, as well as the incredibly hardworking and dedicated Egan Warming Center staff and volunteers. And Eli Veridas is the pastor and facilitator of Alluvium Church. Red Wilson is our facilitator for the live stream. Red's back there, I think. Oh, she is. There she is. And Susan Smith is our door manager. And she's in charge of checking the Vax cards and weeding out the riffraff. And I see she didn't succeed either. There's just filled with riffraff here. And Art Willie is the stage manager and chief cat herder and our final performer. And Willie McEachern is the sound engineer and excellent singer-songwriter in his own right. And Sean Bossel is our video engineer. And Julia back there, O'Reilly is the tireless, tech-savvy Caldera member and a banjo player. So I owe her our apologies. And she will edit the live stream of this performance into a production that will be made available for streaming at a later date. How long do you think? A couple weeks. And as my friend Carl says, Julia is well. Julia is all those things that Julia does. So a round of applause for all these people. And now, Art Willie. Art has been called a songwriter of the first order, to which he replies, "You want fries with that?" Pretty good. Although he has in fact seen the Loch Ness Monster without the benefit of psychedelics, and although he has actually sat on the Group W bench, his proudest achievements are his children, Kelly and Lucas. I heard the song he is about to close us with one memorable morning at the Caldera Song Camp up in the mountains near Sisters, and it's a song that I can assure you speaks to our conditions and to our times.
Thanks, Paul, and also thanks to Kathy Burleson of the Never Ever Band for accompanying me here. So this is We Are Not Alone. Please sing along, and that goes for the folks at home. We can hear you, so do it. In this life, in this time, in this world, we are not alone. Sometimes sad and lonely, everything in blue, always all around us, friends and loved ones help us through. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. In this life, we are not alone. In this life, we are not alone. And those who've gone before us, they lived and led the way. They're always all around us and carried in our DNA. And we are not alone. We are not alone. we are not alone. In this time, we are not alone. In this time, we are not alone. We walk the earth together, all humanity, each part of the other, and all one human family. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone in this world. In this world, we are not alone. In this world, we are not alone. Kathy? We are not alone in this life. We are not alone in this time. We are not alone in this world. We are not alone in this world. We are not alone in this world. We are not alone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I just want to announce that we have gone north of the $800 mark just here. And meanwhile, we people who are watching this on live stream, I think there are several hundred people, I understand, I hope, that are watching this. They are also donating, so we've managed to raise a substantial amount for Egan Warming Centers for the 10th straight year. So thank you very much. Thank you, and we'll see you next year.
Remember, applications close May 1st. Eugene radio stations, ears support students and education in our community.